wind at the lower end of the course, it's a little bit lighter. So while they might not roll out that extra sail early, later on it might really pay off. But the good news, we're going to get a race start here very soon. So Todd, these guys come in from what we believe to be the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3 minutes. Be interesting to 1 minute to 43 with that 10-second advantage.
4 minutes to go. No, that's still the old race.
Kenny, there's more wind along the shore where New Zealand is. Lighter wind out by Oracle Team USA. 30 seconds, 43. Day 13 of the 34th America's Cup. Will today be the day the Kiwis take the cup, or can the Americans... 10 seconds, 43.
Okay, so the Kiwis get to go in first.
3, 2, 1, 43.
And then here come the Americans.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 73. Mark. See, these guys are almost, remember, the rule of thought here is if you can get on your foils, you don't need a bigger sail when you're going downwind. You saw as soon as they came into the entry box, they got up on their foils, but here they're getting a little lighter and slower. This is a real toss-up as to whether that big sail up front, the code 0, is going to be just drag and up for no reason, or actually be useful on leg number 2. We have a 1.5 knot flood here, guys, and that should favor the windward end going over to the first mark.
It's like 1 minute and 15.
Yep. And you can see it starts over here. And their first run is to that other mark where it's supposed to be.
3, 2, 1 minute to start. Less than a minute to go before the start. Slow motion start at this stage. You know, this light air is really difficult to maneuver these double hull boats.
Now they're both aiming straight at the start line.
And he's just going to block them off the whole way to the start.
See that? Now they're running side by side. Come on, buddy.
Has Emirates Team New Zealand gotten too low in the starting box? They're talking about full upwind. Can Oracle accelerate? Question. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Attack.
Picture, Mary.
Oracle's
Oracle,
running
first
27
boat up
knots.
on their
New Zealand's
foils. Is that
24.
going to be enough to accelerate them over the top of Team New Zealand and give them wing wash, give them disturbed air? Sure looks like they're going to be able to pull
They
it off.
got it.
20 meters. 20 meters. Oracle's got it. There it is.
So the Kiwis got lower, looked to be in the prime position, and just like that, Jimmy Spithill and company accelerated the line, and they are the first ones to mark number 1. Serious acceleration, and you wonder how much having the drag of that code 0 up in the air affected these guys on leg number 1. The lead is just 5 seconds as they make their way to leg number 2,
That's
heading
great.
downwind towards the city.
They're going to tear right by here, aren't they?
That was a serious difference in acceleration. That drag of that big sail up there, in these boats that are so optimized for aerodynamics, you have to imagine that meant a lot. Interesting that Oracle jives right away.
Right away.
Getting back out into the middle. So a little bit of difference there. Normally, the Kiwis, when they trailed around that first mark, were the first ones to jive. This time, you heard Jimmy Spithill talking with Benny. He's like saying, happy to go. A lot of times, Todd, they're jiving to stay in line so they don't get in the wing wash of the boat ahead. But right now, Oracle's just popping up on their foils in this lighter breeze a little bit easier than the Kiwis. Talking about a deploy of the code 0 right now, Todd.
Oh, wow.
Well, there it goes.
There it is.
The code 0, according to the New Zealand coach, tells me at 10 knots. Underneath that, it's better, and they're right at 10 knots, so they're on the line. Code 0 versus no code 0. We'll see which works out best. Pretty interesting. Very interesting. Exactly. Fantastic.
What the hell's code 0?
The only problem with code 0, even if you have more speed, it's a lot harder to maneuver with. So the Kiwis, in effect, flying an extra sail, and it does not seem to be making a big difference right now. The Americans have a 175-meter lead. For sailors out there in the world watching this, you just think, well, of course they're going to go faster, but this is a whole different game. The aerodynamic packages on these boats are completely different. You see, Oracle's actually put theirs in the air, but since they're up on the foils without it, they actually do not unfurl it.
Get up.
Back up.
Oracle rolls out their Jennifer now. Everybody in the world
There you go.
thinks it's better breeze, so it must be easier physically on these boats.
Wow.
It's anything. Sailing almost at equal speeds right now, rolling right around 25 knots. Not much in this though, Todd. 212, it was like 180, I think, when they first deployed. So the big difference in sail areas really didn't mean a whole lot in the overall big scheme of things. If the wind is rolling the dice early on in the game. Well, I think they're going to set themselves up, New Zealand, that is, to get to the right game, where USA is probably going to do the left game.
You're only dead app as compared to the main line. That's funny.
Man, there's a lot going on in these jives. A lot going on. A long way to go. Their sheet is way, way out. This is actually not a great jive on Oracle. And the lead is now down below 100 meters. But with a jive to go. That's the thing. I kind of really liked New Zealand sticking with them and trying to jive better and really closing it up. But they chose not to. They chose to split. They still have one more jive to go.
Of wind hitting that sail of theirs, trying to turn.
It's a big call. If they can stay stay up on their foils here, Todd, then this could really play out just fine for them. A little bit more breeze, this could make this an absolutely workable solution for Team New Zealand. Like Gary said, it will be a split here.
There we go.
At mark number 2, the Americans have a lead, but it has shrunk down below 100 meters. The Americans off to the left gate, and it looks like the Kiwis will go to the right. What a shock. We have a really close sailboat race. Americans more than doubling their lead. It was 5 seconds at mark number 1. It's up to 13 now. Gary Johnson, who has the best position on course now? Well, I like Oracle Team USA's position. They're going to get under this cone from Alcatraz Island, where there's a lot less current. Remember, we have about a knot and a half flood coming in here, and being out in the middle where New Zealand is going to be tough. Seems like the breeze might be a little further to the right, though, Gary, than normal. They're coming up in this boundary very quickly under Alcatraz Island. As I say, that thing is lifted up onto on port tack here, and looks like the boundary is actually a little bit further away. You can't quite see the tide line that we normally see here, so it could be a little more even from side to side. Really hard to call from our vantage point right now. So the first tack of leg number 3, and the Americans have a lead, but can they make it stick as they head upwind? Ken, the dynamic onboard Oracle Team USA, it's almost like they have 2 strategists and 2 tacticians, with Slingsby, Ainsley, and of course, Jimmy Spithill working together. Listening for Spithill. Spithill typically looks at the wind a lot more than Ainsley. Ainsley is more of a traditional tactician, but the combination of the 2 has obviously been deadly for Oracle since the switch. So the Americans have the lead as they head up towards gate number 3 here in race number 16. Once again, the lead comes down to below 100 meters, and the Kiwis are getting a little relief from that cone behind Alcatraz Island, Gary. Looking good where New Zealand is. I mean, the further in you go under Alcatraz, the better it is. But now we have Oracle getting in closer. They'll gain again. We just haven't seen any of these on-course errors that we've seen in the past, the boundary violations, things like that. These guys are playing it really smooth. Again, this is going to be about maneuvering, attacking concepts and catamarans. You know, it's fantastic to see on behalf of both boats. With Alcatraz Island in the foreground, Oracle Team USA has a lead of 125 meters, and it is growing just a little bit. And those arrows indicating the flood tide, the current coming in from the Golden Gate Bridge to a very subtle tide where Everett Team New Zealand, and there is their game. That's right, and they're gonna, and Oracle is in the position, they will split all the way across the city front. We've seen this strategy so many times in the past over the last month and a half. Team New Zealand will tack up on their hip. So VMG? VMG is that yellow? Yeah, like you said, that yellow arrow. Little higher VMG always on Oracle right now. That's really the number we're looking for. Kind of surprising because you would think they're in a little more current out there. Wind has picked up just a little bit since the start of the range, 12.8 knots. And the Americans now keep a little relief. And Kenny, you see that line down there? Explain to the folks at home what that is. There you go. So that is the reason why the VMGs are a little different. They've actually gone already across the most amount of current, and now they're getting relief right along that city front. So now we start the same process again that we saw underneath Alcatraz, but this time up the left shoreline, short tacking up the left beach. I like this call by Ainsley to tack a little bit earlier. They could have gone in closer to shore, but the wind is very light underneath the shore there by Pier 39. So they're splitting the difference between being in favorable current, or the best current you can get, and staying in some wind. Boy, not much in this though, boys. It's really, this lead has stayed almost identical since we went around the mark. Little give and take here and there, but for the most part, we got two really equal boats. So, Kenny, is the jury still out on the Code Zero experiment for the Kiwis? Did they make the right call? Oh, I don't think so. I think they did what they thought was right, and they did an extra jibe down there at that bottom end, and still came out within about the same amount of distance that they rounded the top mark. You know, so I think it ended up probably being about a net even, maybe a slight gain to Emirates Team New Zealand. Interesting to say if Oracle tack soon, they're coming right across that current shear, the line that we see occasionally from the air. If they go into it, maybe New Zealand has a chance to catch up playing the left. Well, this one's far from over. Yesterday we saw the Americans take a lead of almost 500 meters, only to see it drop down to 80 on the second to last leg, and we are only on leg 3 of 5. This is going to be a closer cross here right now with the Americans coming back on starboard. This is going to tighten up to about 120 or so meters by the time these guys come together. Chip away. That's all you're doing right now if you're New Zealand. Chip away. No reason to panic yet. Keep doing the right thing, which is bouncing up and down the left-hand shoreline. 2 days ago in this position, we saw New Zealand try and sail a low course and use boat speed. If Oracle tacks, New Zealand needs to tack immediately to get back inshore. On board Oracle with Jimmy Spithill, Ben Ainsley, Tom Slingsby, factor in a little Kyle Langford there, and they're talking nice righty, which means a right-hand wind shift. Remember, the breeze does not just stay consistent no matter where you are in the world, out in the middle of the ocean or right by a city front like this. A lot of times you can even get little puffs, tweaks coming up and down of streets. It happens in Boston, for example, all the time. The breeze literally just rumbles right down the streets coming off the city front, so everything affects the wind direction. Kenny, as we look at the wind along the shore, it's a little stronger along the city front than out here in the middle. Still just not much in it. Whoever gets to that left side gains a little bit. Whoever comes in from the right loses a little bit. Now we'll probably trade off yet again. Kiwis, though, have done a great job of staying out of sequence with the Americans, not allowing them to